Hey, welcome. Last session of the day. Who's stoked? Woo! Good day? We're learning. We're excited to be here. Let's round it home before we head to that Jamf Nation user party tonight. Thanks for being here. We're thrilled to have you, as I said. We are here for, a lot of sessions today. We are here for our AI at your service, an elevated look at Jamf's AI Assistant. I'd like to ask you to give me your hands in giving a warm welcome to Chris and Lucinda, our hosts for today's session.
Thank you.
Please take a look at this forward-looking disclaimer. Hi, everybody. Want to first thank you again for taking time out of your day to join us in this session, especially here day 2 at JNUC, last session between you and the party. Really appreciate you being here, and hope to see you at the party tonight. This is AI at your service, an elevated look at Jamf's AI Assistant. As Sasha said, my name is Chris. I've worked at Jamf for nearly 9 years now. I was a customer prior to joining Jamf. I've worn a number of different hats at Jamf. Today, I'm a member of the AI team, which is HAL 9000, and I'm responsible for helping build the AI assistant and its tool set.
And I'm Lucinda. I joined Jamf over 3 years ago now. I'm in a data science team, and we work closely with Chris's team to develop the data pipelines and the retrieval workflow that allows the AI assistant to access the data it needs to answer questions.
All right, so let's kick things off and talk about AI Assistant. I guess first, could I get a show of hands of everyone who has used it already in their environment? Excellent, excellent. Nearing half, that's good news. I hope to see more hands next year. So today we're going to give you a brief tour of the AI Assistant. We're going to draw from our Denver setting for some inspiration and helping relay some of the concepts and tools. And we're hoping to tell you the story of how the AI Assistant can help you. We're following a mountain theme, so we're going to start at base camp before heading out to explore the landscapes of management in the lower slopes. We'll look at security tools in the high slopes, and then we'll arrive at lookout point and see what's next. So before we talk about where we're going or where we are, we should talk about where we've been. As they mentioned in the keynote, last year at JNUC, we announced the AI Assistant was coming soon. We had a booth available with demos with Jamf Pro and Jamf Protect tools. If you were there and checked it out, thank you for attending and seeing us. Hope you enjoyed it. Since then, in January, we released a beta version of the AI Assistant in Jamf Account, and this was with a reference tool. In May of this year, we had a major release of Jamf Pro 11.17, added the AI Assistant, and we introduced 3 brand new tools, the Explain tool, the Search tool, the Inventory Search tool, and the Simple Search tool. And today, we are excited to announce new tools. We have the Blueprints tool available today. Coming soon, we also have a compliance benchmark tool for the AI Assistant. We have additional tools for security and Jamf Protect, as we saw. We have other exciting tools that we're excited to show you. So first, let's talk about who the AI Assistant is for. We developed the AI Assistant with Mac admin or Jamf admins in mind. So you were our target audience. It currently serves all customers in Jamf Account. It is also available, as I said, in Jamf Pro and coming soon in Jamf Protect to help admins navigate, understand, manage, and secure their environments. So now let's talk about what the AI Assistant is. I might have lost some text there, so I'll just tell you what it is. It's a generative AI tool, AI. It has a retrieval-augmented generation tool, so it can hook into our knowledge bases with curated Jamf content to get you the best answers. It also has bespoke tools for working in your Jamf environment. Okay, to give you an idea about how these components work together, here's a quick visual. The AI assistant has its own prompt and personality, which gives it direction as basically a Jamf employee that's there to help you succeed with Apple. It's also linked with general purpose Jamf tools for management and security. It also has the reference tool, as I mentioned, to get additional information to make sure it gives you the correct answer. Now, the most important piece in this machine is you, the user. Nothing is happening until you actually ask a question. But when you do ask a question, these gears will turn in motion. The AI assistant will call on any tools that it needs to get the answer. And as soon as it has enough answer, it will relay it back to you, or it has the information it needs, it will relay the answer back to you. And then hopefully you're satisfied with your response. We'll give you a quick view, navigate of the assistant itself, and show you some of its features, the basic features. We do have a history feature in the AI assistant, so if you have a conversation, it is stored in history for 30 days. So if you had a conversation, you want to resume it, just tap the history button. You'll have a list. Note that if you need to delete a conversation, it wasn't valuable, or you just don't want to have it anymore, you do have that option at all times. We also have the new conversation button. This is useful. Sometimes conversations with AI can get very long. Sometimes AI can become a little less lucid when the conversations get really, really long, or it can get off topic. So anytime you want to change the conversation topic, or if you're having problems with the existing conversation, tap the new conversation button and start with a clean slate. If you really like the conversation and you want to save it beyond that 30 days, tap the download button. It will preserve the markdown formatting so that you can pop it into an editor and keep all the rich formatting that the AI assistant likes to use. It is docked natively on the right-hand side of your products. If you haven't noticed, you do have the option to pop it out. This gives you more landscape to work with, especially when you're trying to review the responses. Sometimes that tiny column is not enough. So when it's popped out, you have more landscape, like I mentioned. We also have sources available. So when the AI uses tools, it will let you know what sources it used to give your answer. And also, when appropriate, we'll provide a link that you can go ahead and click on. And we'll talk about the types of links that these will be in a minute. Do note on the right-hand side, you also have feedback buttons, so thumbs up, thumbs down. We would love for you to provide feedback. If you like a conversation, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, if there were any problems or if there was anything incorrect, please hit the thumbs down button and let us know so that we can fix it for you. Okay, so let's talk about the foundations of the AI assistant, and we're going to start at Basecamp. So in our Basecamp, we're going to cover our prompts and basic tools. The AI assistant has its own personalized prompt. This is a Claude model that we use, and we don't train the model additionally, but we do have custom prompts to let it know that we give it personality, we give it its mission, and we give response guidelines to keep the responses consistent. You will get a slightly different prompt based on what product you're working in. So if you're working in Protect, you'll get a security geared prompt, and in Pro, it would be more about general device management. If you just ask the assistant or just say hello to it, it's actually really good at telling you what it's here to do and how it can serve you. It also has context awareness, so it doesn't come into play here, but it is aware of what page you're on. So sometimes it'll say, oh, I see you're on the dashboard of Jamf Pro. How can I help you today? Context awareness comes into play a lot more when we're looking at the Explain tool. The next basic tool I want to talk to you about is the Apple Versions tool. This tool uses Apple's Software Update Service API to determine what the currently supported versions of Apple operating systems are. And this helps admins and the assistant identify devices that may be out of date. We can see this tool in action. We're just asking what are the currently supported operating systems and what are the most recent releases. It tells us it's going to get this information for us. It makes that tool call. It gets the information back and lets us know that we have 26.0.1. I think I saw 0.0.2. I don't know what platform that was for. And it lets us know what date that came out on. It also lets us know the other currently supported OS versions. So this gives you an idea, and the assistant, once again, an idea of where your fleet is compared to what is actually supported by Apple. The third basic tool I want to mention is app versions. So this is similar to the Apple versions tool, but it's specific for applications. And this tool is actually, it's using our patch management feed. So we use our own internal API to determine what the current versions of software are, and same API that we use for app installers and patch management. So we ask the question, we can say, what are some popular productivity apps? And once again says, I'm going to use this tool and look it up for you. I left it open-ended for it to determine what was popular, and it seems like it was pretty accurate. Microsoft Office, Google productivity, and then it also looks up some Zoom information. And it gives us back what the current most up-to-date versions are, so it can also report to you of any devices in your fleet that are out of date for these specific softwares. And next we have the most important foundational tool in our Basecamp. It's the reference tool. And Lucinda will take it from here to give us more information about it and how it works.
Thank you. I'm now going to talk about the reference tool, which is the component that gives the AI assistant its ability to provide accurate and up-to-date answers to your questions by accessing our comprehensive knowledge base. First, I'll go through the data sources, then the data processing pipelines and how we keep the data up to date. After this, I'll explain the retrieval workflow, which allows the data to be retrieved by the AI assistant and then used to generate the answers. I'll also go through some of the recent updates we've made and the plans that we have for future development. These are the main data sources. The Jamf documentation contains all of the content from the Learning Hub, as well as the trusted access documentation. The knowledge base articles are written by Jamf technical support, and these contain advice and answers to common questions. The product issues, support cases, and community posts contain information about problems that have been solved before and their resolution steps. We've also added a new source this year, the Jamf API reference guide. This gives the AI assistant access to the developer resources on developer.jamf.com, and it can help you understand APIs, build integrations, and develop automation solutions more efficiently. It includes content from the API specifications, including the Jamf Pro and Classic APIs. We've also added the security APIs, and we're planning to add the others in the near future. As well as the API specifications, we've included all the documentation pages, including the guides and developer resources. Having access to this data ensures that the AI assistant has all of the context it needs to give sound API advice. Here are some of the use cases. So, for example, if you were building a new tool that needs to get information from Jamf using one of our APIs, the AI assistant will be able to use the API references to identify the right endpoint and then show you how to use it. It can help you with authentication, building the required API calls, and troubleshooting any issues as they arrive, all while giving recommendations on best practices at each stage. It can also help advise on the implementation of some of the more advanced integration capabilities, such as webhooks and multi-product workflows. Overall, it speeds up development time and ultimately contributes to the development of better integrations. I'll now show an example of the AI assistant answering a question that requires retrieval from the API sources. A question is asked about running the return to service command API. This is a way to refresh a device rapidly by keeping the Wi-Fi profile intact while the device has been wiped and set back up. The AI assistant finds the required API specification and gives a code example, which also includes instructions for encoding the Wi-Fi profile. It then checks the device record in question, and in this case, it determines that it's not eligible for the command. At the end of the message, the sources used to answer the question are displayed. Moving on to the data pipelines. For the data to be accessed by the AI assistant, it must be processed and stored in a vector database. For most of the sources, this involves extracting the data via API, then parsing, cleaning, and anonymizing where required, and then splitting the data into chunks so it can be effectively stored and retrieved. The documents and their embeddings, which are vector representations of the text, are stored in the database along with metadata, such as the document titles and URLs. This allows the links to the sources to be displayed by the AI assistant. We also store the product names for each document for reasons I'll get to later. This diagram shows our data refresh pipeline, which runs every day to keep the data up to date. It extracts metadata for each source and compares it to the data that is already stored in the databases. This is done to determine the items that need to be added or updated. Recently, some of our sources were impacted by a change in provider, which required migrating to new APIs. The structure of the data from the new APIs was actually very different from the previous ones, particularly for the support cases. But we used this as an opportunity to improve the selection, summarization, and anonymization of the data using AI. We also made improvements to the HTML sources, specifically around cleaning and chunking. This resulted in smaller chunks, which in turn leads to better retrieval. Additionally, we built new data pipelines for maintenance tasks, such as the metadata refresh job. This allows us to update metadata without changing the document content, so there's no downtime during the update. There's also the full data refresh job, which allows data to be completely removed and then re-added from scratch for each source. And finally, we have the static refresh job, which allows static data sources to be quickly and easily indexed. Moving on to the retrieval workflow. Retrieval is a multi-stage process which ensures that the documents returned are highly relevant to the input question. When a question is asked by a user, the first stage is the query router. This is an LLM generation pipeline with structured output, and this determines which sources are most suitable for answering the question. The next is retrieval, and here the most relevant documents are returned from the database using a similarity search. The next is a re-ranking model. This combines the documents from each source and orders them by how relevant they are to the question. The documents then go through another LLM pipeline. This one decides whether each one is useful enough to help answer the question. We call this one the relevance filter or document grader. The final stage is document formatting, and this ensures that the output is compatible with the AI assistant. The retrieval workflow is orchestrated using LangGraph, and this diagram shows the flow across the nodes. There are multiple conditional edges which allow various scenarios to be handled. For example, when a specific document is requested by ID, there's no need for the re-ranking and relevance filter steps. Also, in cases when no documents are returned in retrieval, the graph is ended there. The main update to the retriever is product-specific retrieval. And this allows the retrieved documents to be restricted only to the products that the user is subscribed to. So for example, if you're a Jamf Pro only customer, your questions will be answered using Jamf Pro documents. It will not retrieve Jamf Now or Jamf School documents. To achieve this, the product names were added to the metadata of all of the documents in the database. And the way it works is that product subscription details are provided as an input by the assistant when the retriever is queried, and this is added to a metadata filter in the retrieval stage. We also added a new endpoint that lets the AI assistant know which data sources it has access to. This is queried prior to the first user question, so it knows what questions it will be able to answer before querying the retriever. And this means that no time is wasted attempting to retrieve documents when it's clear that the answer will not be found in the available available sources. Some of the plans we have for the future include converting the document retriever into an MCP server. This will allow other AI applications to retrieve data from the Jamf knowledge base. We're also planning on adding more data sources, so please let us know if you have any suggestions. Thank you all for listening. Now back over to Chris as we continue on our expedition.
Great. Thank you, Lucinda. So now we've covered our foundational tools at Basecamp. We're going to set out now to the lower slopes of device management. This is an area many Jamf customers are familiar with. It's well trodden, but it still has a touch of the wild. And let's take a look. So we're going to talk now about the tools that are in Jamf Pro specifically. We're going to start with that explain tool. The explain tool, if you're not aware, it's a tool that will give rich information about a single object in Jamf Pro. Using the appropriate Jamf Pro API endpoint, it gives that information back to the assistant so that it can make its analysis. In a single conversation, you might see the assistant use this tool multiple times if it needs to get information about multiple objects. And we'll see an example of that right now. In the wilderness example, though, it would be like if you had an AI assistant with you, you're exploring these lower slopes, and you needed an explanation of all the objects you see. Well, I can see a couple of trees, a fire, and a squirrel, but I don't know a lot more than that. But if I had an assistant with me, it could give me rich information about all the objects around me, including how these objects might interact with each other. It'd be very useful to have this on the trail. Let's see this in action in Jamf Pro. Here we're on a policy. It seems like a pretty basic policy. It really only has a script in it, and it says it's going to name a device from a plist. So we could ask the AI assistant, what is this policy? It's going to use the explain tool to look up the policy by ID, and it's aware of the policy's ID using context awareness of the page you're on. After it gets the policy, it tells us some information about it. It does realize while it's going through this that there's a script, so we're going to have to use this explain tool again to get the script information. And once it retrieves the script information, it starts to put two and two together to realize that, hey, we're using managed preferences plist to name this device. That's what the script is doing. And then it makes another connection to say, there's actually a configuration profile that is laying down this plist. And it gives all of that information to us. In addition to the explain tool, we have simple search. This is a tool that will list all objects of a single type using endpoints, again, within Jamf Pro API. In our wilderness example, it would be asking perhaps to search for and list all the trees in the area. Once again, I know that there are 2 trees here, but I don't know what kinds of trees they are. Same scenario for the AI assistant. If you're looking for all objects of one type, it will tell you all their names, all their distinguishing characteristics. This is a simple search, though, so it's just going to get the name and ID most of the time. And that's when the explain tool would come in for a fast follow for explanation. So we have a quick example, and we could just ask, what departments do we have in Jamf Pro? This is a question that you might not actually ask as an admin, but it's a question that the AI assistant might be wondering to answer a different question that you have. So we see really quickly, it tells us we have 4 departments, and it actually tells us what they're useful for in Jamf Pro. We also have the inventory search tool. This uses the computer inventory endpoint in Jamf Pro API. It allows you to use natural language to perform searches with complex criteria that might not be easy to surface in the console. In our example here, it would be like asking, find me a tree that has cones with small bracts that look like mouse tails. It grows alongside ponderosa pines and provides a suitable habitat for birds and small mammals. These are very complex requirements, and the AI assistant would be able to detect, yes, your Douglas fir is the tree you're looking for. In our Jamf Pro scenario, we could ask what hardware model has the most IDEs installed on average. This is something that we could do the work and figure out with what we have in the UI in Jamf Pro. But with the AI assistance tools, it's able to really quickly assess your environment. And using this tool, we actually have a team of sub-agents that will continue to run queries against the data to make sure that it has the most accurate results. And the key findings are we have 252 MacBook Pros. They have on average 2 IDEs, very flat average. And we have 504 total IDE installations across all devices. So very easy way. It also goes an extra step at the end if we note. It will let us know its rationale, what it determined, what IDEs it was actually looking for. So PyCharm, VS Code, et cetera. And today we also have the blueprint skill or blueprint tool available in your Jamf Pro environments. And this is a new tool that's using our platform API. In our wilderness example, it would be, hey, here's my current plan for navigating the wilderness. Is it sound? Will it impact anything on the lower slopes? And did I forget anything? We've seen this example a couple times, and if you were at the State of the Union, you might have seen it twice already. But I'm going to go maybe a little deeper and let you know what's happening on the back end. So we're asking to explain this, this blueprint and let us know if there are any existing legacy configuration profiles that would be in conflict with it. So it uses the blueprint tool to get the blueprint details. Then it uses the simple search tool to get a list of configuration profiles. It identifies a few that it wants to sniff out, so it uses the explain tool then to look both of those up. And it's quickly found that we have critical conflicts. We have passcode inactivity settings are mismatching, and we have overlapping camera access settings. So it will give us deployment recommendations, what it thinks that we should do. It gives us a direct action plan. We should unscope and delete those legacy, at least one of the legacy profiles. And then it also will let us know what the benefits are of using the blueprints, including we're adopting declarative device management. It's a unified management system. It's a single pane for you to look at, better compliance, et cetera. As we shift gears, we'll make our way up to the high slopes now of security, and we'll keep an eye out for dangers or risks that might impact these, the creatures and objects in the lower slopes. So here we're talking about Jamf Pro tools. The first tool that we want to talk about is the alert analysis tool. It gives the AI assistant the ability to analyze alerts to understand more about the event that occurred and any potential impact that it might have caused to the device. So in our scenario, it could be, hey, what was that loud noise? Where did all these rocks come from? Did anything get impacted in the lower slope? Well, that was a rock slide. Let's take a look at an example. We have an info stealer alert here in Jamf Protect, and I did not come from a cybersecurity background, so the AI assistant is very helpful for me in understanding what is actually going on. So I'll ask the assistant, what happened here? It's going to use that alert analysis tool to look up this alert and get all the information that it needs. It gives us a summary. It says it is a critical alert. It was risky, but good news is the threat prevention kicked in and it was blocked. So no risk ongoing. But at this point, we might be wondering, like a rock slide, well, how did that even happen? We want to understand the circumstances that were around this event, not just that an event happened, but there's a cause. There was something that led up to it that we're curious about, and that is our search telemetry tool. So after analysis, the assistant determines that you might want to take a deeper look in the telemetry logs, and it actually gives us a prompt to do so. So it's now taking a look at all the times surrounding that alert, looking at the behavior on the device in any of the logs to get a better picture of what exactly is going on. So after analysis, the assistant determines that this is most likely a test that was being performed, and it provides evidence that supports that hypothesis. It's using localhost, and it was clearly a testing scenario. And I wouldn't have picked that up from looking at the alert. But so once again, if you're new to device security like me, and you're just like to have things explained in simple terms, it's super useful. You can even ask it to explain like I'm 5, which is one of my favorite techniques. So it will break it down even further and explain that, hey, there was a bad guy lurking around, but we had a security guard in place, so don't worry, we stopped the bad guy. But after we did some further analysis, we realized this bad guy actually works for us, and he was testing out the security guard to make sure he was awake. It can even go the next step and write an email to your boss or manager explaining this alert, explaining that, hey, it looked like it was a risk, but we did a deeper dive and we determined that this was actually a test, but we are going to follow up with the end user to see what they were doing and made sure they had made sure they were supposed to do that. Okay, so that was the high slopes. Now we're at lookout point. We're going to talk a little bit about what's coming soon. We do have new Jamf Pro endpoints that we're planning to add to the existing explain and search tools. The one big one that we've seen today is the configuration profiles endpoint. That's not in Jamf Pro for your assistant today, but it is coming very soon. We also have additional platform API tools like compliance benchmarks. We have an app risk analysis tool that's powered by NowSecure that can take a look at mobile applications and let you know what their risk score is so that you can keep your mobile fleet secure. We also have plans to have tools that can create and update objects with user confirmation. So once again, keeping the user in the loop, and the user will have to verify and confirm that they want anything to be created before the AI assistant does so. And we'll use a templated process to make sure that the AI doesn't get too creative with what it's trying to create. We also plan to add MCP support to extend our tool set beyond the AI assistant and into other AIs. In summary, Jamf's AI Assistant has 3 unique tool sets. It has our base tool set, our management tool set, and our security tool set. And these will help you cover the basics of managing and securing devices with Jamf. Thank you for joining us on this quick expedition. We can't wait to see what mountains you will summit with the AI Assistant at your service. Thank you. We do have plenty of time for Q&A. I also want to call attention to this QR code. If you have not adopted the AI Assistant yet, this will take you to an informational page. It could help you persuade the security teams or the decision makers at your organization to let them know that we're being good stewards with the data. We're not training on your information. None of this data is being sent to any vendor or third party, so it's all safe. But at this time, if there are any questions, please go ahead.
Thank you. Losing my voice here. Thank you so much, Lucinda and Chris. Great presentation. Summer and I will be facilitating questions. We're going to divide and conquer across both sides of the room. So if you have a question, throw your hand up. I see one right here, and Summer will come grab you with the mic.
Hi, thanks for that. Question about just like general inference of the tool. So is it able to see things that we can't see in the GUI as like, for instance, like a static group to find out where that is being used in a scope? Right now we can't see that in the GUI. Is the AI able to do that?
Yes and no. So it would be able to detect your static groups, and with some objects it will be able to list that group in scope. It would depend on what object you're looking at, I suppose, but in some scenarios, yes, it can. I should answer too. It does look up smart groups and static groups, so it has full information on those, but it depends on if we get the right scoping information from the API.
You talked a little bit earlier about RAGs. Is there any, I guess, future plans to allow us to upload our own documentation that could then be turned into a RAG for it to have even more context for our specific environment?
We don't currently have plans for that, but in a way we already do accommodate it by sourcing from Jamf Nation. It's kind of a non-answer for you, but we don't have current plans. That is an interesting idea. I think we'll take it back with us.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I did not know where you were.
Who else has questions?
So we have multiple users within our Jamf Pro instance, and they have different access and roles. Is the AI shared between these users, or is it based on their dashboard?
It's RBAC, so it's going to be based on the user that will have at maximum the privileges that the user has. So it's not a shared assistant, it's almost a custom assistant for each user.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Welcome.
Is your AI assistant actually going to be trained? My previous questions, things I've already asked it before. When I ask the next question, is it going to already be pretty much trained with like what I do for a workday and what somebody else does?
It doesn't have continuity between conversations, at least
Okay.
yet, and we don't have like a memory component of the user yet. But I will say if you use the feedback buttons, like you can indirectly train by providing feedback that this was not an appropriate response. Our team will look into it, and then we'll make the adjustments to the prompt that will hopefully provide a better response next time.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Welcome. One right here.
Come on.
So based on the feedback of a thumbs up, everything or mostly everything probably went correctly. A thumbs down, it could be 1 or 5 or all of the above. How do you use that data of a thumbs down to get a better response next time?
We do provide a text box so you can add comments of exactly what went wrong. You don't have to do that, but gosh, it really helps. So please do, because otherwise we'll have to sort through the thread to try to determine what was incorrect. And our team has been at Jamf for a really long time. So even if you don't provide feedback, usually we can read through the responses and find out what was incorrect. But please do provide as much information as you're willing or capable.
Any additional questions? Give it that awkward sign. Here we go.
When is the planned release for MCP support?
We don't have a timeline yet for that. It's something that we're looking at and hoping, I don't know, summer. I'm going to rely on my team lead here, who happens to be helping.
Yeah, we're hoping to get it out, I'm hoping next year, but we don't have any sort of set timelines. We're taking a very careful look at it. MCPs are, basically APIs with a lot going on behind them. We want to make sure we give you guys something that's really useful, solid before we release it. But we are building our tools as MCPs kind of moving forward so that we're building towards that so it's easier for us to release MCPs as external. So.
Yeah, I saw on the Jamf developer portal that the MCP is listed there and you can already connect to it. So will it work in like a beta form currently?
So that's an MCP for the API portal. So that will give you data and information about our dev portal, not necessarily stuff for the AI Assistant or for your Jamf Pro instance.
Okay.
Sorry. So that's just information about developing, basically.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Great questions. If no one has any additional questions, or if you have a question maybe you want to ask but aren't comfortable asking in front of the group, Lucinda and Chris will be here for a few minutes after the session, so we invite you to come up and ask your questions here. Otherwise, please join us in the AI booth in the expo hall, where we can do a deep dive even further. So let's give it up for Lucinda and Chris. Thank you so much.